welcome to the June 2nd DNN Show and Tell Meetup. We're back, and hopefully we'll keep coming back. Not a lot to announce as far as what's going on with DNN right now, though I do know we have DNN 10.3.3 coming possibly this week, maybe next week. I haven't seen a release candidate yet, so that probably means next week or the week after. There's also a few things coming that will be in DNN 10.4.0. That should come after 10.3.3. So I suspect we'll see that more likely in July. So those things are coming. Other than that, I feel like we're pretty much ready to get right into this. Anyone here have anything else that they've seen recently that needs to be announced? I know in the pre-chat here, Steve brought up something that I thought was really worth mentioning was we've been enjoying how stable DNN has been since about 10.2.5 and how well the upgrade processes have been going for a lot of us. Steve hopefully is nodding his head. Yes.
It's been like heaven, honestly.
That's nice to hear, right? All right. Well, our first speaker today, our first demo today is by Marco, and we're going to get straight into optimize for AI search, which means, as usual, I need to find the Zoom interface that lets me give up the screen share. And I'm not seeing it.
Down at the bottom of
I
your.
found it. It's up at the top left
Oh,
for
up to
some
the top.
reason because I'm on a different
Yeah.
computer this time. There we go. Wow, a lot of people here.
Excellent. So just confirm, guys, if you see my screen, please.
Yes, indeed.
Excellent.
The rocket.
Yes. Okay, guys. Well, my first demo, or the first demo for today is about how to optimize websites for AI search. A subject that it's been, getting a lot of attention recently. And since there's a lot of gray areas still, well, I bring some data, recent data that hopefully you guys get to use on your clients and on your websites as well. The first session I did 2 months ago was about keyword selection. The session from last month was about how to create high quality content or help our clients to create high quality content. Now we're going to talk about optimization for AI, right? Let me just get this focus. Okay, so what to optimize, what comes first, what's important, what's not, depends on the lens we use. So we're gonna take a look at this from two different perspectives so you guys can have a better picture. First, we're gonna have a lens or a perspective from a digital media agency. So this is from a webinar I was part of like 3 days ago. The link on the PDF, I will put it on the video description on YouTube. And the link for the PDF for the webinar, if you guys want to look at the whole thing, is pretty good. It's down at the bottom on the right-hand side. So according to these guys, 58% of Google searches now end without a single click to any website because people are finding their information right there in the search result pages. 61% decrease on organic click-through rate when there is an AI overview present in the search. And Gartner predicts that by the end of 2026, there's going to be a 25% decrease on traditional search traffic going into websites. So I really like this phrase, and I'm actually sticking with it. I'm going to start using it a lot. The traffic didn't move, the decision did, right? So people are still there, people are still looking, but they're just the decision actually changed place. So search is now becoming answers. So if we're looking for the best demand side platform for my team on traditional search, well, we just look for the links. But if we go back to this new word AI answers, We're looking for AI overviews for ChatGPT, for Perplexity. We're trying to get one synthesized answer where probably there's no link, no click required, especially if you're just searching. And also the metric, it's the citation or mention of our business. So to put it in a perspective, the SERP was a marketplace and the AI search is an editor and the citation, it's the new click. So business right now need to look for or aim for the citation or the mention of the business while people search on AI. Now visibility, now it's the same as inclusion. Before AI, we were looking for getting the first position on SERP, try to win that click, and obviously track the conversion. You know, fill a form, give us a call, or chat over some, chat bot over there that we can track down. Now, the new goals, it's that we want to be cited on AI answers. We also want to earn mentions across trusted sources so that AI can show us and mention our business. And obviously, this is getting really big, build authority that AI actually recognizes. So ranking right now from, this perspective, guys, it's no longer the goal. Inclusion is. And inclusion is measurable. Citations, mentions, and authority. Okay, cool. So now that's some part of a couple of slides I got from this webinar that I really like. And the link is over there at the bottom. Once you have the video on YouTube, you can download the PDF. And well, I will place the link there on the description so you guys can go and visit this webinar if you want to look at it. But now we're going to change the perspective. Okay. Now we're going to stop looking this from an agency perspective that is trying to get and gain new clients because we're talking about the new stuff and we're trying to make people think that we're the experts on this new subject. So just come and work with us. And now we're going to jump into this other land and it's actually Google, right? This data that I'm going to show you guys, it's from the actual website, developers.google.com. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to show you what's on red. So from Google search perspective, optimizing for generative AI search is optimizing for the search experience and thus still SEO. So for Google, AEO, GEO, it's the same SEO. Okay. Also, from this link, and the link is over there at the bottom, you can ignore creating unnecessary AI text files like LLMs.txt files. Again, this is from Google, and they are talking about how to optimize for their AI products, okay? Apply SEO best practices to generative AI search, and you don't need to create new machine-readable files, AI text files, markup, etc. So this is a different perspective, right? Totally different from what we just went through from that webinar. Now, interesting thing to consider. If your business or your clients somehow depends or rely on traffic coming from any sort of Google services. First quarter 2026 earnings, an increase of 19% on revenue from search and advertising, an increase of 63% on revenue growth from all the cloud services Google has. Right now, AI and on the AI prompt or the AI API, they are handling about 16 billion tokens per minute right now. On paid subscriptions, on Google One, YouTube, and other services, they have more than 300 million subscriptions. And the Waymo, which is the autonomous rides per week, they handle more than 500,000 fully autonomous rides per week. So this is a different perspective. So now that I give you guys different perspective, now we're going to talk about ways to optimize. Now, the reason why I wanted to share that before giving you guys all this data is because I believe that every one of us need to focus on what's the best for their clients. And depending on the land that you're going to use to look at the data, you're going to see something that it's good as bad or backwards. So it's important for you guys, for everyone, from my perspective, to have a full view of the context so we can understand the information, where it's coming from, and why they're saying such things, right? Because from one end, you will get people saying SEO is dead, and from the other end, you will get people saying, no, it's not dead. It just changed. So it's important for every one of us to have the whole perspective. So that was my main goal by sharing those two perspectives. Now, if you ask me what will be the ways to optimize websites for AI search, first, reviews, business reviews. It's really important now for all businesses to be in any directory that online that people can make or leave a review. Those will build trust for AI search engines. Now, link building white hat efforts will definitely help you build trust and will help you make the authority signals stronger for search engines, not only traditional ones, but AI. And scheme markup, well, was a nice thing to have. Not every website has those, but now we need to take advantage of any sort of technology that we have in our hands to send data to the search engines, not only Google, but everyone else. And um, all of these different scheme markups will help you or will help your business be displayed on different packs that search engine will have, for example, Google. So we have the aggregate rating that will allow your search result on the SERPs to have the stars, and Google will display how many reviews your business have, for example. We have the organization, the local business, the frequently asked question page, the event, the video object, article, breadcrumb, to show, the different paths for your pages. And social media, we have two. We have the Twitter or the X cards, and we have the Open Graph, which most of the social media now use as a standard. But it's good to not only stay on content and optimize your website to load fast and provide a good navigation experience and be mobile friendly and so on, because it's also good right now to keep this in mind. And the last one, I believe, yes, frequently asked questions. This is a good approach to have on every product and service, a section where when you have some sort of list with frequently asked questions, and build your brand across the web. So focus on reviews, getting testimonials from clients, participate in forums or discussions related to your business, and be in local directories. Really important. And at the end, just to finish, every time that you create content, make sure that you ask and have an answer for these questions: who, how, and why. That's it. Thank you guys for the time, and we will be moving forward to the questions or comments. Go ahead.
I have a quick question that I think is related to the AI stuff. I've noticed a lot of the SEO and search engine result placement people are discussing whether you should be creating landing pages or information based on the question, the problem, or the answers and the solutions. I'm just curious if you have an opinion on that, or is it just obvious that you should do both? I don't know. We haven't actually made a change lately based on that, but I thought it was really interesting that the problem and the question are very different than phrasing the solutions and the answers. And there could be many solutions, but there's usually one good one. So anyhow, what do you think about that?
Well, right now, the challenge from AI perspective, it's how we measure, or how can we have certainty or some sort of certainty about which are the questions or the keywords, at least, that most people will mention in their prompts, right? Because now we get so many different prompts and so long that we cannot categorize them in just one big category because we have so many different variations of the same question, right? Because people, they talk about they talk with AI like they talk with somebody else. So the way they search, it changed. So right now, the challenge is how to measure that traffic that is coming in from AI and where is that coming from and why it's coming from, right? Because we need to match that data with this sort of efforts that you're asking, Jeremy, because we need to have some sort of certainty before we move forward, right? Because if we make changes just with my belief is that we have very small data right now, still gray areas
Yeah.
to talk about. And the big challenge is that, and we talked about this in the last session we had planning for this session. We're gonna start having this like the mobiles, right? Samsung comes with a new phone. A month later, Apple comes with another one. So we're gonna start working with different versions of the different models, and they're gonna start bringing new ones. And we don't know if the stuff we did for the last one will work for the new one. So it's a lot of stuff going on. But in my case, what I could, give you a solid answer, it's definitely high quality content. It's still valuable, but for me, it's two different words. If your business some sort of or relies some way on traditional search traffic, then SEO, traditional SEO is still in place and you still have to do it. But if we want to move forward in AI, then we need to like come up with all this new strategy for AI. I wouldn't mix the two things. For me, it's two different words. And my personal experience with clients, the ones that we are tracking down now, AI traffic, it's businesses who are in the first page of Google. So they are getting traffic just by being there. Businesses that are not in the first page of Google, they are hardly getting any AI traffic. But if you are on the first page, you are getting traffic. We have a couple of businesses with heavy AI traffic, and we haven't done anything AI specifically. So, it relates, but until right now, there's no like certainty about how to move forward and don't have any sort of hesitations about the steps that you're going to take.
That's cool to hear because that fits what we've experienced. I've only got 4 clients where we do regular SEO work, and all 4 of them have their sites or at least some of their pages come up in certain AI answers, whereas most of the sites where we have not done SEO work, I haven't found a
Yeah.
single one yet where we've done proper SEO work where they show up in an AI result. Very interesting to see that.
Okay. Yeah. Any other question, guys? Okay. So I think, Jeremy, I'm going to stop sharing and uh, there
All
you
right.
are.
Next up is Peter Schotman. What time is it there, Peter?
So about 7 o'clock. Yes. So I'm on, yes, no mute.
We can hear you.
We hear you.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Share your
Share
screen.
my screen. Okie dokie, let's share this one. Let's see. Okay, so everybody sees my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, I want to do a short introduction on OpenContent. OpenContent, yeah, the question, of course, is what is OpenContent? That's the first one. Well, it's actually a template-driven module for DNN to help users create content in a structured manner. It started out as a HTML module replacement because, well, you can do anything in an HTML module and mess up stuff really good. It should be easy for end users to edit content. So that was the main goal actually. So from how can we have our content managers have the work done easily and still have a good looking site. So in our case, we hardly ever use the HTML module anymore, but almost everything we do, if it's a, let's say, a presentation type site with OpenContent. So in the database, content is done in records. So, and that can either be individual items, I come to that later, and or a complete module content. It's all in JSON. So also the schema definitions, and I will show that later. The rendering is done either with Razor or Handlebars, and that usually goes server side. So that means that if you got immense amount of data, you don't want to do that server side. But so then you can also do that client side using APIs. But that's not what I'm going to focus on today. I have here some document examples, documentation. So we're going over some documents. So the main is, of course, the README and IO docs. And we have some example sites. This one used to be Sasha's main example sites, but it got hacked because it was not updated correctly. But it's you will build that later. But for our perspective, so 40 Fingers, so that's our company from Stefan, Timo, and I. We have a big set of examples, and we have also some smaller ones that are sort of you can use right away. So they are on GitHub, so you can take them off, and I will go over the content, some examples what we did with OpenContent. Let's see. So OpenContent is a template system. And if you're going to use OpenContent, the first thing you do is either get some templates. So in this particular site here, we have very many basic examples from all kinds of stuff which is possible with OpenContent, and I will show a little bit of them. So when we go back to that other site, then we'll see here a Razor example. And when you look at how that works, first of all, it got this is the user interface an administrator can use. So we got a form builder, and the form builder just uses simple field additions. So if I want to add a field, in this case, I have a list object it's called columns, but we can do, for instance, let me say, let's put another one, a simple thing, and so in the field type is text. So if we add that to this specific template, I can save it, and if I go to edit mode, then you see we now have a field called name that you can edit. The other one was a list item in itself. So in this particular case, we have a single item template. So that single item means that it is stored in the database as one specific item, no individual records. We can also have multiple items. And when you look at the template, so we got the form builder where you can use all kinds of fields. So what we see here is the types of fields. So we have all kinds of fields here, selects, radio buttons, numbers, URL, well, whatever. But also things like list-based items. So what is a list-based item? An array, for instance, or a, what have we got more than that? No, that's an array is the main one. So you can have in a single item content template, you can still have multiple items. And that is what you saw here in this, when you go to an edit, you see one item, two item. If you want another, I can say, okay, another one, for instance. Let's see, Feyenoord. So, and we get an image, then I'm going to select that from my pictures. Not that one, so I can add this one. So now I've got test description. So, and now you will see that we have 3 items. Oh, this one the same image, so that doesn't really matter. So that is one example of a template. When you look at the template, this is we got here the Razor version, and you can go to edit template files, and then you can see the templates we have. This is the Razor version, but we can also have an alternative version, and that's, for instance, the Handlebars version. And when you look at this this structure, you see here the template, and you have the schema and the options. That is what defines the template, and you can have a bit more. I can switch this template. So if I can, the function is here, switch template, and so you can use the same content on different pages using alternative templates. So in this case, I have also made, this was the starter demo module. I have also the Handlebars version. And when I save this, now it's got the same version, but if you look at the content of the template itself, you see something else. You see handlebars. So in this case, you have that's what you had, of course, in Razor as well. For each column, we make a block object. So in this case, this handlebars. So you can easily mix and match whatever you want. So for non-programmers that do a bit of, well, maybe front-end guys, they can much easier work with handlebars. At least that is our that's what we see, because handlebars is easier to work with. You have less problems with null values and stuff like that, because null values are always blank. In Razor, null values usually crashes your template. So if you're a developer, that's of course no problem, because you know what you're doing. But for people that have less experience, they are really struggling. Let's see some more. You can do anything. You can create banners like this. So when you look at this banner, you see it got a title with a bit more. You can also have all kinds of conditions. So in this case, the description, you can do stuff like background colors, and you can change the height. So whatever you can think of, you can do here in a template. And you can see when I go to the template file, you can see that you have an unless option in handlebars. You have if statements. And so if some field, in this case, if it's image only, so no text, then you do this, and image location equal left. So you can really build a nice template. And for the content manager, he only has to edit the stuff which interests him. So it's really easy, and you can really make life easier for them. But you can also do a lot more. For instance, you can also use data providers. So in this case, I have the data provider, and when we go to the template, you will see. Let's see here. In this case, this template has a manifest, and the manifest sort of describes what the template can do, what kind of alternative templates you have, and what for types. So for instance, we have a type called template, and multiple template types. So each item is then an individual record in the OpenContent table. But you have, in this case, you'll see that we have a data source, that's the DNN users. So you can display all the DNN users in the site. You can also say, okay, we can filter what kind of roles you want to have. So that's, in this case, so you have a simple, the manifest describes how the template is structured. And when you look at the template itself, let me see, then you have here a the main template. So, and you see here we have the sub template as well. So we go to the item, and then this sub template contains the items. So for each item, we do this. So we have a first name, last name, user ID. And if you don't want something, you can simply remove it and save and close. And now the user ID is gone. So you can do a lot. So in this case, you can also make your own data providers, or you can use some, let me say, maybe I have here as well. No, I don't have that here. You can make a SQL. Yeah, well, if you can do Razor, you can do anything. So, and then you can grab content or information from any table you want. When you look at multiple items, so we had a single item and multiple items, you see it looks a bit different because now we have not an edit button, but an add button. So, and that sort of describes that you can have multiple items and not one. You have here the edit button on that item. So that is what you can do. For multiple items, you can also do filtering and integrate it with search. Well, that's when you do filtering. Let's see where it's filtering. Okay, so I don't see it, but there usually is a filter button. Yeah. So this is yeah, I have to look that up. You could also do all kinds of crazy stuff in with OpenContent. For instance, here I have a table structure. That is a table structure which, and when I go to edit mode, I simply upload an Excel file, and that Excel file is displayed here. So when you look at the template, what's actually happening? Well, the template file uses Sheet.js as a way to get process the Excel file, and then with tabulator I show it in a table. Of course, this stuff is mostly about processing user JavaScript for displaying this particular table. So in this case, you have a lot of JavaScript inside your template, and it simply displays that table. But of course, this is very nice if you need to have a simple way for an editor to upload an Excel file and just display the content. So what else do we got? Well, of course, lots of templates that do stuff like photo galleries. You can simply use whatever kind of JavaScript system you want to use, and then you have a photo gallery. There are some other fancy stuff you can do with it. For instance, this one I found particularly interesting. What Timo had made. Timo really disliked the search results page. So what did he do? He created a OpenContent template to display search results. So if you go, if we're going to search for Apple, in this case, you got 2 hits, and it just displays apples, and it uses the DNN search, because this is the result of the DNN search, in a particular way to display a very small list of search results without all the DNN stuff. So this demo site, you see lots of examples on all kinds of things what you can do. So for instance, here you got one with filter and ordering. Oh, this not this one. And let's see, got it here one. Yeah. Here you can, for instance, in the user interface, you can add something that you can just drag and drop the order of a template of an item in well, that's in your site. So I'm gonna leave it with this. We can talk about it for hours, but it's not the goal of this day. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and I give the floor to you.
It was great to see that last one you showed. I was just playing with that yesterday on the DNN community site. I added an entry to the DNN history, and it took me a while to figure out I could drag them up and down because, of course, it added it at the end of the list, and I was not paying attention to the little icon in the corner. So it was nice to see you demo the exact one I was just playing with.
Yeah. So this is so you can do a lot. So there are lots of stuff what you can do with OpenContent. And of course it's it's an alternative to the Too Sexy module. It's just two different guys taking a different approach for structured content management.
And it's using like Handlebars as a JS framework. It's actually using that. Is it bringing it on as a CDN, or is it loading it directly in a specific version, or is it a customized version of their own Handlebars?
I'm not quite sure. I think it's a customized version that Sasha includes in OpenContent.
Can maybe answer.
And what? You can answer, yes.
No, what you see, it's a server-side handlebars. It's a .NET library, open source library that implements handlebars server-side.
Okay. Oh, it is running server-side. It's not client-side.
Yes.
Oh, that's great that you said that. I was completely assuming that it was switching and running on the front end.
No.
I didn't know that. Thank you. I hope somebody else learns from that because I did not know. I completely assumed it was front end.
And
nice.
the advantage, the benefit is also that you have some more secure templates.
Right.
Because you cannot write C# in these templates, so you can give them easier to end users or site administrators.
Yeah, given my background, I've found it very easy to learn. I've been in a few situations on the DNN community site where I noticed something and needed to fix it and was able to very quickly figure things out and get them fixed. So I've kind of been a quiet appreciator of it for a while. It's very organized.
Yeah, well, does it make coffee?
I bet someone would figure that out if you asked seriously enough. Coffee. All right, does anyone else have questions?
No, but I just want to really thank Peter for joining us and giving this time to share and have some content about OpenContent modules. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I'm actually really appreciative that we switched the time of day and 3 of you guys from Europe showed up. I really appreciate it. In the future, if you guys want to do your own version of this, contact me offline and we'll join as guests and you guys can do your own thing. We don't own this format, and if you've noticed, the main reason we did this is because we're clipping each demo and putting them on YouTube. It's generating some modern content for DNN, which we think is a big benefit. And especially as people move forward with things like the MVC pipeline, that will provide a lot of opportunities for people to share smaller pieces of things. Because I don't know how you guys feel, but every time you see a 1-hour demo of something presented in the DNN community and it gets very detailed and technical, I know a lot of people who do not watch it. So we want to keep these demos short. Anyhow, I'm off topic and in sales mode. So if you guys want to do something like this on your own or keep joining us, we plan to do this time of day every 3 months. Let's continue on with the next demo unless someone else has something to comment on or have a question.
Just one quick question, if I might.
Sure.
Can OpenContent do like inner content in the same way that Too Sexy does, where you have like apps within apps type of thing?
Well, I'm not quite understand what you're saying, but you can share content, that's for sure. So if you generate content, for instance, an article database blog, for instance, a blog, you can manipulate that in any way you want, filter them in any way you want, and show them on different pages. But it's not the open content does not use the same architectural philosophy as 2Sexy does. It's a different beast, but you can do content is linked to a module because that's how open content works. But a multi-item template can be used can be used in very different ways.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Steve, I believe you're up next. Is that correct?
Yeah. Excuse me. So let me just share my screen.
Am I
What I'm
supposed to be
gonna
doing an introduction? Here's Steve Karpik, and we're doing DNN backup and restore.
That's it. So you should see my screen. No,
Not
you
yet.
don't, and not till I hit the share button.
There
And
you go.
there we are. Okay. So as all of we know, it's important to do backups before we do any upgrades. Occasionally, I get tempted to do an upgrade. And the few times that I've done it where I haven't done a backup, I have been very unhappy because inevitably something happens and you wish you'd spent that extra time. Normally, I use Evotiva DNN Backup to do my backups. It's terrific software. I'm going to talk about that in a month, but I thought it'd be interesting to look at what you have to do if for some reason you decide, I don't want to use this software, I want to do it myself. And if nothing else, going through this process helped me better appreciate the value of the Evotiva software. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through fairly quickly because there's a lot of steps about how you would do a backup. And in this case, I created a little tiny website that was called, webdev.stevekarpik.com. And I wanted to do a backup of it. And a backup doesn't make any sense unless you actually verify that you can restore it. And so I want to restore it on my PC as webdev.local. So the practical problem is I've got a website on an internet host, and I'm going to take the case that's kind of more difficult in some ways, one where you're doing shared hosting. So your ability to work with the SQL server that you're hosted on is somewhat limited. And I'm going to say that I'm not going to use Evotiva Backup, and I'm going to figure out, how do I get around all of this? And so what I'm going to sort of talk about today is just sort of look at the important steps that you need to follow, and the things that if you're going to make a mistake, these are the places where you're going to make the mistake and where you're going to go, why isn't this working right now? So the whole goal is to come up with something where I've got a website on the internet, I download various things, I recreate it locally, and then I feel good about being able to do an upgrade on my live site. So there's a whole bunch of components that have to get instantiated on your workstation. There's essentially the IIS server, the files, which you can by FTP, the database. There's the SQL users. You have to make changes to the web config. And there's also the portal alias, because you're going to give it a different URL than what it had on the internet. So the easiest part is getting the files. Inevitably, you're going to have FTP access to your files on your server. And I like to use some software called FileZilla. It's a reliable free to use FTP client. And you have to be a little careful when it does the download that it does them all properly, because sometimes there'll be a list of files where it says, I didn't get those. And you have to make sure that you got all the files off of your server. But generally, it works really well. So we've got to get the website files. That's easy. That's just FTP. The SQL database, that's a little trickier. And then there's the IIS binding, like, is it HTTP, HTTPS, et cetera, et cetera. The SQL database is where it's a little tricky, because when you have shared hosting, you don't have easy, full access to the SQL server. So probably you're going to have to talk to this, you're going to have to do the dump using Plesk. So first thing to do is you got to make a home for your website. So I generally have all my websites, which I have many because I like to test things. So I have a folder called websites. The name I give it the name webdev.local, and then the actual files are going to go in the folder website. And then using the IIS manager, I'm going to bind the web server to that location. And you also have to make a change in the local hosts file so that when you type in webdev.local, your browser knows where to go. So as I said, with the first step is to download all of the files into that folder using FileZilla or whatever your favorite FTP client is. Got to make sure that there weren't any errors through that process. Now, the database is a little trickier. Depending on the host that you use, DNN for less, which I use for all of my websites, it has a Plesk interface that lets you do a dump of the database. And there's one thing that might confuse you the first time you do it. When you dump it, it comes down as a zip file. You unzip the file and you go, what is this file? Because it's got no file extension. So you have to add .bak to the file that you've just dumped off of your server. And then, at least then it makes it a little more recognizable. Now, it's with the SQL Management Studio, you can import your the database. It's pretty easy, but then life gets a little interesting because you end up with orphaned users, and what that means is that let's say I have a account on my SQL server on my web host, and let's call it SQL user. Well, I can't just create a local account called SQL user on my PC and expect it to be able to talk to that database, because even though the usernames might be the same on that's embedded in the database and what I've just created, they have different SID values and they don't work. So what you have to do is you have to first see what's the name of the orphan. And I'm going to post all these files later, so you can find that there's certain usernames that essentially are useless, they're orphans. And then another SQL query that you can do, which basically cleans it up, gets rid of the orphans. This step is absolutely essential, or you'll never talk to the database from your DNN. So, and then connection string, that's pretty easy. You're going to have some sort of connection string that's up on your server, and then it's going to be essentially the same .SQL Express. Now, the other thing is that you have to make sure you change your portal alias on your DNN site. That baked into your DNN site is the URL that it is expecting. And so I had it before it was webdev.stevekarpik.com. Well, if I try to visit that when I have it all installed locally, if I don't change the portal alias, DNN will say, I have no idea what you're talking about, and it doesn't give me anything useful. So you have to fix that up. Again, there's a SQL survey query that lets you see what the values are there. And then another one that lets you then change that to from webdev.stevekarpik.com to webdev.local. The last place near the last, that can sort of get you into a little bit of trouble is that on the internet, my website is HTTPS, and locally it's HTTP because I don't want to bother with SSL certs locally. And so, again, what I have to do is I want to make sure that I need to make that change, and it's going to say yes. And then there's another query that goes into the database and says, you don't need SSLs anymore. It's just HTTP. And then you recycle the IIS application pool, you go to WebDev, and lo and behold, it is going to be there. And so I guess the troubleshooting is, if your SQL login doesn't work, probably got an orphan user, somehow you messed your login for SQL. If you're going to HTTPS, again, you haven't done the SSL setup right. There's a few things, but if you follow the steps judiciously, it all works pretty good. So this process is actually one that takes quite a bit of time and care and attention. There's nothing super complicated about it, but there's lots of places to make mistakes. And that's why, in general, I don't use this process. In fact, the first time I'd used it was last night when I prepared this PowerPoint presentation. I always use the Evotiva DNN backup because it completely hides all of those details. And I've been using it for years, and it's been a lifesaver at times when I've needed to rescue something from a backup. So that's a really whirlwind tour of a technique of doing backups and verifying the restores, a technique that personally I would probably never bother using because I'd rather spend this relatively small amount of money for the license for Evotiva backup. So that is it. Any questions?
As someone who's done many, many backup and restores over the years, I think you hit on all the details. I think you've hit on everything I've done wrong many, many times.
I'm going to review the PowerPoint, make sure I haven't put any mistakes in anywhere. And then I'm going to be putting this one and also the one I did, I guess, a month ago on the multilingual too sexy data. I'm going to be putting both of those on my stevekarpik.com website. So if people want to look at the details, it will be there. So now I will
Thanks, Steve.
stop my share.
All right, let's move on. I believe the next demo is me, if I'm in the right place here. And what I'm going to do is show off an upcoming feature in DNN. And I've been watching this one because it's actually been a really interesting thing where, let me get my screen shared. That that. All right, so welcome. My name is Jeremy Farrance. I'm going to be demoing a new feature that's coming up in probably DNN 10.4, and I'm going to kind of walk you through the life cycle of how this feature came about and demo it and show you how I was able to demo it, which is a specific thing I'm planning on doing as a future demo. Installing and using locally a version of DNN from a PR using artifacts. So this started on April 3rd of this year with Tycho, who came up with the idea of converting the page header tags so that we can actually manage them a little better, because currently in DNN we have, which version am I on? Sorry, I have this screen in the way. Okay, over here. This is a current version of DNN 10.2.5, and you'll notice we have this page header tag section. As an agency, we don't use this much. We'd rather have better control of our page header tags through our skin. Every one of our sites has a custom theme that we build, and so Peter Donker's still here. He did the recent CDF stuff, and we greatly appreciate that. The new method, fluent method of adding these via code is fantastic. So Tycho put up the idea of converting what you just saw into a little interface so that you could name them and add them. And just naming them alone is fantastic. As this progressed and people immediately started chatting about it, people discussed the implementation. Quite a few things. This is worth reading if you want to go into DNN issues. It's 7184, but somewhere along the way in the last few weeks, this changed to a pull request, meaning someone sat down and started doing some code and some work. And after the first version was working and you could play with it on your computer, these are all changes that were proposed. Here's a post by me where I kind of suggested that instead of this tight interface side by side with the sitemap priority, that you switch it and we have a nice big open edit area for each one of these full screen, because these can be pretty involved in detail, and putting them in a tight little box is kind of one of the problems this thing should be solving. Anyhow, this moved on pretty quickly into some code, and I don't know if you guys know this, but when a PR is out there, GitHub is running actions and compiling these things in the background. As you can see right now, the latest version is failing 13 minutes into the process. So what I had to do was go into the artifacts and get a version that I had previously downloaded about 2 weeks ago.
Just a little note, the one you see with the blue thing is Azure Pipelines, and we are transitioning to GitHub Actions. So the yellow build and validate, that would be the modern one.
So that's coming soon. I'll have to try that.
Yeah,
as soon as you see one that's working, let me know. So I'll switch over with the way I do this to that.
Yeah, if you switch PRs, you're going to see some of them working. That should be a green dot. That is the new way to go get the releases, the PR artifacts.
All right,
We're
and
transitioning away from Azure Pipeline slowly.
So with these, then you work through getting the artifacts, the download, and inside that download zip, you will find an installer for DNN. And I use that to use NV QuickSite to put up this version of the website. So you'll notice here, it looks like I'm running 10.3.3. But I believe if you look up here, you'll see that it's beta version 10.3.3 build 23. And the way I name my versions, I'm a little anal retentive so that I can keep track of in NV QuickSite all the different versions that I have on my local machine. So you can see this is from PR 7248, build 23. So here's what the page settings screen looked like previously, as you saw before. And here's what it looks like now. We have this new row. We moved the sitemap stuff down, and we can start adding tags in here. And the name can be anything you want. It's not really relevant. It's just something you want to name them well for yourself, because you're going to come back here in 3 months or a year when you don't remember and want to know what the heck it is or what it does. So I'm just going to paste in one that's not a real tag. It just says nonsense, and we're going to hit save. Now at this point, if you hit save and go look at the results of your page, it's not going to be there yet. You have to actually save the page. Once you do that and reload and view page source, you will see, there it is. You will see there's now a tag up here in the head called nonsense. So that doesn't hurt your website. As everyone knows, once you put these tags in the header, the browser is the one that has to process it. So you can put anything you want in there. You'll probably get errors in your console log if they try to do anything that doesn't work or it can't find. You can add multiple tags. So we'll do another one real quick. Where's my stuff? Oops, there. So here's an example of adding a script. So we're just, I don't know if any of you use Tailwind, but in the latest version, they've finally got some web components that they support called elements. So we're just going to call this one elements v1, as if I was going to come back and look at that later, and save. And again, this is on a per page basis. So now when I refresh, you're going to see both of these in here. So this is a really quick way to get something on the page. One of the things that happens is you might not be able to edit your skin or theme, but you might need a way to put something. A good example might be a chat interface on your page. Like we like to use talk.io. I don't know if anyone else here uses that. Talk2. Really good chat interface that you can put on a DNN site, as simple as putting one little header include on the page, and you're off and running. So this allows you to organize them, keep them separate, rather than having that old box, which could have a whole bunch of stuff, but it'd be kind of, you have to paste it in some other editor and see it. So anyhow, really like this feature. Just to show, there's also an additional area where this has affected the interface. If you go into site settings, site behavior, and look at default pages, here's the old version. You could do HTML page header tags up here. And again, you just have a big box to type into. But in the new version, it's been converted to this add tag method, and you have the same interface again. So you can do something site-wide. And I believe that's the two places this header tag feature is implemented. If I'm wrong about that, someone could correct me right now. Those are the two places that I found, and I didn't look closely at the code. So, but again, add header tags for the whole site, add header tags individually for any page, and keep better track of them. I highly recommend you name them well, because if you're like me, you'll be staring at it a year from now and you'll be like, what did that do? So, and again, I'm kind of showing two things at once. I just also wanted to show off that it is possible to follow new features on the DNN platform and GitHub. And when they turn into PRs, there is a way for you to go get an installer and get that set up and running on your machine so you can go and play with it, which I highly encourage people to do, because you are testing stuff. You can then give feedback. You can comment either on the issue or the PR and be talking directly to the people that are writing these things and thinking them through. and it's amazing. I mean, in this case, I actually influenced this one early on into going full screen width, and I'm really proud of that. You need, these things need feedback. Any developer that writes stuff in a vacuum tends to write really weird software, as you guys have all seen over the years. So I highly recommend you look into this. And next month, I will go through the detailed process of finding a PR, finding the artifacts, downloading it, and installing and spinning up um, DNN version using NV QuickSight. So anyone have any questions?
I have one. Jeremy, what's going to happen if you've used the old school method of doing the page headers and a new version of DNN comes out and we happily upgrade? Does
Glad
things
you asked
break?
that, because they thought of that. That was something someone brought up, and from what I have seen so far, and I didn't test it here, but they migrate it really nicely. They end up doing things like renaming the old page settings tag that was used before. Everything's done really nicely. It's very well thought through. Quite a few people participated in the both the issue and the PR, and brought up some great points. They even recently introduced some levels of caching, which makes this really fast. So yeah, that's completely covered. It still needs some testing. Again, this isn't going to be in 10.3.3. This will be in 10.4.0. So when there's an RD of our a release candidate of 10.4, I expect Steve Karpik to do a little bit of testing on this and probably test out specifically that.
Cool. Yeah, the reason, one of the reasons it's not in yet is indeed we first wanted to get 10.3.3 shipped before we started integrating the code into the main project.
Yeah, I greatly
start
appreciate
preparing
it when we
10.4.
don't see new features in a point release. It needs to be
Exactly.
we need them
Exactly.
in the minor releases. So I notice we've
Yeah.
missed that on occasion, but yeah, the
Yeah.
world works much better when the new features are only in minor releases, and major features
Yeah.
are only in major releases.
Yeah. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
All right, if no one else has any other questions about this feature.
Oh, I was just gonna say one thing. I put it in the chat, but it'd be so cool to have like permissions eventually on it, so you could show public users, the chat widget, or load the script for the chat widget for public users, but then not load it for if you're administrator or something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
I actually agree that that's really cool, but by the time you get down to that level of fine-grained control, I would have to say, I mean, if it were a project here where I work, I would be insisting that it's moved into the theme, to the skin, and done that way. Anything works for anybody, but I do agree they could add a lot of features to this in the future, and permissions is definitely one of them.
Cool.
Although permissions usually does drag in a lot of UI.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
It's not a drop down or a button anymore, but it's a grid with
look
people
at
that can
this.
be added and roles, and then are you gonna have it per user?
You need to be careful. You're
Permission
going
on
to
that.
get me on my little rant
It
about why
gets
I can't
real
uncheck
complex
these.
real fast.
Yes,
that kind of stuff.
I agree.
The permissions. But like you said, there's a lot of stuff you can do with the skin as well. And yeah. Thanks
Anyhow,
for showing how it works.
yep. So nice new feature coming in 10.4, and we got to see it ahead of time.
Yep.
All right, I think we're at a wrap. What we normally do is at this point, we will stop the recording unless anyone else has something to talk about that's pertinent. And those of us that choose to will just hang out and chat for a little bit afterwards. I don't know if anyone's going to do that, because for this time of day, some of us are working. Whereas when we do the other ones in the past, a lot of us are free and not doing as much stuff. So, Marco, anything else we need to cover?
It's
I think we're done, man.
Okay. Let's call that a wrap for June
it's
2nd.
then
DNN Show and Tell Meetup.
I have one quick item, which is that all of our videos from the conference are now up, or the ones that we recorded of DNN Connect are now on YouTube.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I've already watched a few of them.
Yeah. So that's for those who are not attention span challenged, let's say, as I am, unfortunately, as well. Anything longer than 10 minutes, too long. But yeah.
I'm glad you said that. That's one of the things we're trying to solve here. We want a lot more 5, 10, and 15-minute demos out there.
If you search for DNN Connect, you should very quickly stumble on it.
Yeah, I've got it right here at the top of my subscriptions. Yeah. And I have, you can see I've already watched 3 or 4 of these.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Really good stuff. I was very appreciative of the 2 MVC ones. Loved those talk throughs.
I invested back in the day, a few conferences ago, in a pretty decent screen recorder gizmo, and I bring a Mac Mini along to the conference every time with a screen and a keyboard. Stick that thing in, and so that does that bit. Declan does the audio. But sometimes the batteries run out on his solution. But he ties the audio to a video feed of the speaker itself. And Declan was the one to make all these videos. So kudos to him. I want to shout out to him as well for putting the work in to turn it all into videos. So yeah.
And just so you know, Peter, I did actually watch your entire presentation and liked it quite a bit, and actually went out and went back and started it again to look for things. So that little red bar you see there doesn't mean I gave up after 5 minutes. I did watch the whole thing, I assure you. In case you have any feelings. So.
Yeah. Well,
there you go.
I'm flying now, Jerry.
No, I understand. I'm going to stop the recording now. And if anyone wants to stay and chat, some of us might. Thanks, everyone.